Oliver Twist, middle one. This is chapter 3, Oliver and the Undertaker. When Mr. Bumble went to take Oliver to go to Mr. Sowerby was the Undertaker. Undertaker, who is someone who makes coffins to the dead bodies. Describe Mr. Sowerby. Mr. Sowerby was a tall, thin man who always wore a black suit. Mr. Bumble said, "You are getting richer and richer every day." Mr. Bumble said this sentence to Mr. Sowerby. This was a rude sentence of Mr. Bumble. Richer? Oh, no, not with the prices offered of your workhouse. The prices offered by your workhouse, allowed by the workhouse board, are way too small. Mr. Sowerby to Mr. Bumble, when he was clarifying that the money that he took from him is too little. And Mr. Bumble said, "Small prices for small boys. Why they were small boys?" Mr. Sowerby said, "Yes, that's true. The new system of feeding has forced me to make smaller and smaller coffins every day," he added. Who said this? Mr. Sowerby to Mr. Bumble. When they were talking about the new system of feeding, they give them little food. They give the boys or the orphans little food, so they are very thin and their bodies are very small. So they make small coffins. After that, Mr. Bumble asked Mr. Sowerby if he wants a boy to help him, and Mr. Sowerby said yes. They released the papers of Oliver, and Mr. Bumble went to take Oliver with him to Mr. Sowerby. Here, there is a sentence by Mr. Bumble. He is saying, "Oliver Twist, take that silly cap off your head at once." Mr. Bumble to Oliver, while they were going to Mr. Sowerby. Here, Oliver wanted to cry, but he rubbed his tears, okay? And Mr. Bumble said, "You ungrateful boy. Lonely are you? Well, don't you dare give Mr. Sowerby any trouble. I know he likes the likes of you, Twist, a troublemaker." This sentence was said by Mr. Bumble to Oliver when they were going to Mr. Sowerby, and he told him that he warned him not to do any troubles with Mr. Sowerby. Here, Oliver was feeling lonely. He said to Mr. Bumble, "I'm only 9 years old and I feel so very lonely." He really felt lonely because he has no father or mother or anyone to care about him. Here, when he went to Mr. Sowerby, Mrs. Sowerby had an overreaction. How did Mr. Sowerby's wife or Mrs. Sowerby react? She sat quietly in the corner and she looked at him, examining the newcomer, اللي هو Oliver, and said, "He is so small. Do you think he will manage to do all the hard work?" "He might be small now," Mrs. Sowerby added كده, "but he will soon grow up to be strong young leg," answered Mr. Bumble. "Yes, he will grow up all right on our food and drink." This is a dialogue between Mr. Bumble and Mrs. Sowerby, and they are talking about